Good evening and welcome once again to Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin. We are coming to you live from the gun store here in Las Vegas on East Tropicana. This show is about guns, related political issues with guns, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on the radio at KSHP 1400 AM, now broadcasting between 9 and 10 p.m. on KSHP. And we are on YouTube every broadcast day. We're going on now. This will come on essentially live on YouTube. And we're an hour off because we didn't set our clocks. So
that's all Bob's fault.
Here we are. Yeah, been a busy week. We set all the clocks except the ones in here. So we're starting at 6 instead of 5, but that'll work out the same anyway. My guest tonight is local attorney Bill Gamage, a frequent guest. Bill, if you would, a little bit of your background for somebody that missed you.
Thanks for having me, Bob. I'm a retired reserve military officer. I'm a retired law enforcement officer. I was also the person that ran the firearms program for the law enforcement agency that I worked for, the Enforcement Division for the Nevada Gaming Control Board, and I became an attorney approximately 12 or so years ago, and I've been practicing mostly criminal defense law and some civil law, and I do handle issues related to the use of firearms for persons who are defending themselves.
Yeah. Bill and I go back a long way. We're teaching academies together years and years ago, which I may throw a war story in there here or there because there's some that just got left out. You know, when you were on the other day and I wasn't on the show, I was listening to it. And I should have brought up that. You know, he made some comment about what a great shooter he was or something like that. And I actually, well, if it comes up. If you have a question or comment, you can send an email to bob@firedupmail.com. One of these signs up here says that. And we do answer every inquiry by text or email. If you want to send an email to one of our guests like Bill, you'll find their contact information on our website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin. Or you can just send it to me and I'll forward it to Bill. Just write on it, this is for Bill, and I will forward it to him to get your answer. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, as we know, rarely covered by the mainstream media. So we always start out with a few of those for our listeners' education. Some are good shooting, some are questionable, sometimes they're just plain wrong, but they all, I pick up cases that have something to learn from. So they are picked out because even if they're wrong, so you won't make that same mistake should you be in that same predicament. Fired Up is a nationwide show, actually worldwide, and when we use Nevada cases, we are obviously going to be spot on with Nevada law. When we use cases that are out of Nevada's jurisdiction, we strongly suggest that you get a local attorney in the jurisdiction to handle the case. There are nuances that are always unknown to you, and what would seem to be a valid shooting in Nevada is going to be a crappy shooting in Wisconsin or whatever. Local counsel, always. So we try to use things that will just keep you safe in most circumstances, keep you out of jail, keep you out of civil lawsuits. Probably doesn't really help you win gunfights. I'm not sure it's possible to win a gunfight, but I'm getting in Shonda's view. As some of you know, let me just mention up front here, this show is being shown on a day. There was an article in the Review Journal about the demise of Bob Irwin. I am looking to retire now and continue to do the blog. We will probably continue to broadcast from the gun store. We've kind of made a deal with them, but we may be moving it to someplace else as time allows. We can leave the setup and not be putting things up and down every time we do this. So we'll have more on the next week. We'll be on the air at the same time, and hopefully from here, if it works out. So we go to the first case I want to look at, and it's been all over the media. This is a report from the Washington Times. Just came out on the 10th, a few days ago. We're all familiar with a case, made a lot of headlines a few years back, where, or a year ago, where a retired police captain shot another guy, a moviegoer, inside a Florida cinema. You may recall that he was sitting in the theater. He got into a verbal altercation with the guy sitting in front of him. Yeah. There was some shouting back and forth. Anyway, he had made a defense in that case that he could use deadly force when he was attacked by basically a guy being very aggressive and acting like a total jerk, throwing popcorn at him and so on. That he made a defense based on the stand your ground law in Florida. You don't have to retreat in the face of danger, blah, 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 blah. This guy is 74 years old. He opened fire in this Wesley Chapel movie theater, killing his opponent, who was a 43-year-old guy. They're both fairly large individuals. So the Pasco Pinellas County Circuit Judge disagreed with his defense, denied his motion to dismiss the case in accordance with the stand your ground law. She said because the defendant's testimony was significantly at odds with the physical evidence and other witness testimony, that's always a red flag. If you want to go to prison, lie about what happened. Anyway, in her opinion, he was lying. The court had, as she put it, doubts about his credibility. She said, and she's not willing to come to the conclusion under these circumstances that those envisioned by the legislature when the stand your ground law was enacted. After careful consideration of all the evidence provided in the case, the court finds the defendant did not credibly demonstrate he reasonably believed it was necessary. Careful wording, it was necessary for him to use deadly force. The former Tampa police captain now faces a second-degree murder charge in the shooting death. A trial date has not been set yet. It looks like it'll be several months off at least. Basically, we have the stand your ground defense in the face of an aggressive guy with popcorn.
We've got a number of problems here, Bob. I mean, first of all, this is a case where you get a civil attorney immediately to work in conjunction with your criminal attorney. That's a good point. Lots of civil attorneys don't have the experience to handle criminal cases. So it's important that if you don't have one that can handle both arenas, that you get separate counsel and they work together. Another interesting wrinkle here is we have a police officer, a police captain, a gentleman who is retired, which indicates or implies that he has had drilled into his head the use of force under the police use of force standards versus the citizen use of force standards, which is not really widely known, is different. The police get a lot of leeway when it comes to the amount of force they get to use versus the amount of force by the suspect versus the citizen, which has to be much closer in matching force. You'll have a problem here that a good attorney is going to have to look at, which we don't have information. We don't know what this gentleman had, what may have been misconstrued as a firearm. I'm assuming the theater was dark, was this 73-year-old police captain acting like the beat cop, coming in and trying to quell an unruly citizen, or was this some guy who flew off the handle and pulled the trigger when he shouldn't have? As to make my day, I don't know if I don't know if stand your ground applies here, but I'm very troubled by this judge's order. I think this judge's order is completely wrong. At least it would be. I think it would be in Nevada courts. Issues of credibility, issues of fact, are left to a jury. And what is happening right now is that a judge has essentially taken away a chosen defense, which is a fundamental right to any criminal defendant. And this judge may very well have violated the Constitution, protections under the 6th Amendment and 5th Amendment. And therefore, this may end up in a retrial if this gentleman gets convicted. I would gladly take that appeal. I'd enjoy that appeal. I would wear bells when I submitted the opening brief in that appeal. So I find it ridiculous that a judge prior to a trial gets to determine that I don't think this person's credible, so you don't get to have a defense. Well,
isn't that a question for the jury?
Absolutely, the jury gets to determine. You cannot. The jury's the purview of the jury is almost sacrosanct in the criminal courts. I mean, it's a component of the court, and judges just can't willy-nilly take that power away, and it's ridiculous what I see being done here, in my opinion.
Well, that's why you're here, for your opinion. No, we can see that, and here we have a guy who is retired police officer. Police have different sets of rules for engagement, and at 73 or 74 years old, which depends on which report you're reading, how old he is, as is frequently with news reports. The training is different. And if he's 74, we've got to believe that he's been retired 20 years.
Yeah, he's still gonna have that muscle memory.
Well, he's not going to have updates though on what the rules are for engaging.
Sure.
We have and what the civilian rules are for engaging. He probably was fairly familiar with them when he was on duty, what civilians could do versus what police can do, but that didn't change if he didn't get any of the training. We don't know any of that. So, but I have to agree with Bill that if you choose to go to court defending yourself by saying, this is my defense, even if it's a defense that won't work, it's the judge can't just, if my defense is everybody who's taller than me always tried to beat me up, and therefore I shot a guy who was taller than me.
The defense must have
some crappy defense, but if that's the one I want to use. The
defense has to have some grounding in the law, okay? And there must be some level of corroboration as to the facts and to the elements of the defense. It's usually a scintilla of evidence necessary to support the defense. And if there is that scintilla of evidence to support the defendant is entitled to bring it. So, like I said, I'd love to have this appeal, so maybe I'll give him a call.
You're licensed in Florida?
Well, Pro Hack Beach, it's a little extra charge of damage, but we don't mind going there with our swim trunks.
How to support.
Yeah.
This is from channel10tv.com. This is in Franklin County, Ohio. A guy who lives in Galloway is accused of trying to rob a gas station. Deputies say he might have gotten away had it not been for the clerk behind the counter. This is a pretty straightforward, simple case. I just like this. The surveillance video, you're robbing a convenience store gas station. Bad guys, think surveillance videos everywhere. But that's okay. You don't listen to this show. That's why you go to jail. Surveillance video from the Sunoco on Norton Road in southwestern Franklin County shows a suspect walk in, demand cash, and then the clerk shot him.
There's a big gap in the facts there, Bob.
Well, yeah, this is actually just off the wire. This happened yesterday, day before yesterday. The suspect, identified as a local 27-year-old, took off, but was later arrested by deputies. He was hit in the hand and is expected to make full recovery. He has been arraigned on aggravated robbery charges. Given a $75,000 bond, he's scheduled to appear in court tomorrow for his first appearance.
Swift justice.
We've gotten just lots and lots of places being robbed. And when someone comes in and says, give me the money, it's only prudent to believe that you are under threat.
Well, I think
shoot your gun.
I think it comes with the connotation of violence. Generally, robberies have, and I don't know this particular state's law, but in Ohio, but generally robberies are considered violent crimes, and you have a presumption of violence when it is a robbery through threat of taking your property through threat of force or fear. And so, I would like to know some more facts about how it happened.
This just happened. He's going over his first
appearance tomorrow.
I just threw it in.
Did he have a gun? I mean, Did he have a knife? Did he have a bomb? You know, I'd like to know that.
Well, he walked in and demanded the cash from the drawer.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he did the finger in the pocket thing, or, you know, I mean, it would depend. If you did the finger in the pocket thing, I'd say the guy's justified. Case closed.
If he didn't have his finger in his pocket, you're
Then
supposed to wait till you see a gun before you fire.
I think you need some indication of imminent threat of death or substantial bodily harm. At least that's what happens in Nevada. And at this point, when you have words that do not indicate a threat of death or substantial bodily harm, such as "give me the money or I will kill you," or "I will beat your head in until you can't talk anymore," then you have maybe potentially a duty to step back, seek cover, draw your firearm, issue warnings or commands until the fact situation changes.
We'll agree to disagree on that one. And there are a lot of details missing. This just happened. I just saw it and went, wow. Guy comes in and says, "Give me the money." Bang. Mm-hmm. I like it. This is from the Concord Patch. The Patch newspapers are little community things that are here and there. In Hooksett, New Hampshire, it happened on the 9th. A pair of Central New Hampshire men were arrested last night after an alleged failed home invasion attempt, according to police. Both guys are age 22, one from Hooksett, the other from nearby Manchester. They were arrested on charges March 9 after police were sent to the Pleasant Street address for an incident. According to Facebook, from the police department's Facebook page, good way to put out reports. Hooksett police headed to the home after a man alleged that someone attempted to enter his residence. An adult male resident fired a handgun in self-defense, according to police. No one was struck or injured. A physical altercation ensued then between the intruder and the homeowner. The homeowner left the residence and began causing, the intruder left the residence and began causing damage to a vehicle and the outside of the home. Officers arrived. The two were seen fleeing toward another home. In order to stop, they refused. After a short pursuit, the officers were able to take one into custody. A short time later, the second was found hiding near the residence. The more aggressive subject was charged. The one that
Beat up the house.
Yeah, was charged with resisting arrest, 2 counts of simple assault, 2 counts of criminal mischief, 1 count of possession of a controlled drug, marijuana. Always bring your drugs while you're doing a burglary, so they have an extra charge to throw in
Yes.
there. The second guy is charged with resisting arrest. He's due in court April 9th. According to news reports online, the same pair had been arrested in November 2012 in Manchester during a drug raid. There's no details on that.
Interesting. Precocious.
There's a side effect here that the pair is a relative. One of the pairs is a relative of the victim, probably causing them to target the home. There was no indication of collusion in the crime. It's just probably he's a cousin or something. He knew the layout of the home, and that's why he picked it. But
I don't know, Bob. I'm thinking
got himself shot.
I'm thinking this is a contract dispute between drug dealers. Possible contract dispute. So. You know, we have some anger being displayed by beating up a car and beating up a house to teach people some lessons. Again, when somebody enters the home, I think you get that presumption that they're there to hurt you and harm you, and you get to defend yourself. However,
and you can stand your ground.
You can absolutely. You can stand your ground right into the federal prison, though. However, if on the other hand, this is a manufacturing or distribution of controlled substances under federal law, using firearms in support of that, certainly,
He brought his own marijuana to the.
Well, we don't know what's in the rest of the house, Bob. So this could be the location of the drug distribution. I'm just positing a little possibility here. And that could be a serious charge, and the presence of the firearm could be a serious addition to the time.
Okay, I'll give you one here with a little more detail. This is a local case. It's been all over the press, and the Review Journal ran this story along with everybody else. This is on the 15th of this month. 3 people were shot, 1 fatally, after what Las Vegas police are calling a robbery home invasion in the Northwest Valley on Monday night. One man was killed, another was wounded after binding a couple with duct tape. You heard that story, I'm sure, on their home in the 8,000 block of Hesperides Avenue around 10:30 p.m. Police received calls of gunshots from the neighbors, as well as a call from the homeowner. When officers arrived, they formed a team, an entry team, actually, and found a man and a woman inside near the home, West Elkhorn and North Cimarron Roads. Inside, the police found a man's body lying in a rear entryway to the backyard. It appeared the homeowner escaped from being bound by the duct tape. I'm not sure how he was able to break free, but he was able to retrieve a firearm and shoot the suspect multiple times, said homicide detective McGrath, who we're all familiar with. It's on TV all the time. When the police arrived, they found a woman hiding in the closet. She had been shot in the arm and was taken to UMC, University Medical Center, for those of you not from Vegas. At some point, the homeowner was not cooperating with the police, but is unlikely to be charged. The one suspect was shot in the buttocks, which indicates he was going the other way, in all probability. That individual told police he was not shot at the home, but police think he was involved in the home invasion. The car he drove was observed at the incident scene. This is the 36th homicide investigated in Clark County and 32nd 36th in Clark County and the 32nd investigated by Metro this year.
Can I just interject a point, Bob?
Yeah.
This section about they formed a team and went into entry. This is like a good example of Metro really taking a serious risk. It's this active shooter scenario type sort of thing. These guys, they get enough guys, they hit the house, and they just form up a little diamond unit or whatever they got, and they just go inside. Yeah, and that's a very dangerous thing. Kudos to them for doing that, putting their lives on the line.
After the shootings in Colorado, where the police waited to enter when there's an active shooter now, every law enforcement agency in the United States and most of them around the world have been trained to do the same thing. The first 2 or 3 or 4 officers to arrive, make the entry and go after the shooter, because you can't wait for SWAT to get there. We've learned that lesson several times.
Yeah, it used to be just form a perimeter and let's see what happens.
Wait, and it turned out in Colorado, of course, in Columbine, they were killing people while that was going on. So that this is what they do, and God bless them. They're
it's dangerous.
You're not set up for this. You got patrol officers, a probation officer who was wandering down the street, whatever. Anybody in law enforcement, we all get the same training, and you try to lead the street guys in front, and
the guys with no body armor.
The guys with less experience in street combat form the rest of the team. This is WAFB TV News 9 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on 3/9. A Baton Rouge man was shot in the arm, but after investigating, police arrested him and not the person that pulled the trigger. According to the probable cause report submitted by the Baton Rouge Police Department, the incident happened Tuesday, March 7, shortly after 11 p.m. Police were called to an apartment complex located in the 11,500 block of Harold's Ferry Road for a man who had been shot. When they arrived, they learned the victim, a female, age 29, was actually was actually the accused aggressor, and the woman who shot him says she was simply defending herself. This is not good. We're all over the page. The female victim advised she did not want the 25-year-old in her home and told him to leave. She advised if he beat on the door, she advised him to leave. He beat on the door repeatedly and eventually kicked the door, causing the door to have some damage. Once he was inside, the woman says she got her gun and told him again to leave. He eventually left the residence, but advised the woman he was going to damage her car. So far, so good, but she followed him out into the parking lot, still holding the gun, and again told him to leave. At this point, the woman says the 29-year-old lunged at her, so she shot him. He was struck in the arm but ran off before police arrived. He was later arrested and charged with home invasion and damage to property. He was booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. The report also noted the intruder had prior arrests for violent offenses. Pregnant records show that Franklin had been released from the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison on March 1st. This is now the 7th, I believe, on bond for charges of theft of a firearm.
Wow.
So, good reaction by the lady, right until she followed him out into the parking
I agree. She should have, used her communication equipment, call telephones, whatever she's got, stayed at a position of cover, and let the guy beat up her car as much as she wanted, and wait until the police show up with the body armor and the big guns. They'll take care of us.
Yeah, this is something you never want to do. If you're safe, you're in your house, you're in your car with the windows rolled up, you're hiding in the closet with your gun pointed at the door.
Absolutely.
Don't go hunting for the bad guy. This was a bad guy. He'd only been out of jail for a week. And I understand her fear of that and so forth and so on, but let the police do their job. They love to rescue damsels in distress.
Yes.
That's why they go to the police academy.
And they're very good at it.
They were there apparently in a matter of minutes, and now we've got, she says he lunged at her, so she shot him.
Hope there's corroboration of that.
Yeah, we do. If she just shot him in general principle, that would be bad. I mean, we'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say he did that. He's obviously a jerk doing what he did already.
Absolutely.
So,
and she knows that. She's experienced that.
She knew he was a jerk.
Yeah.
She ordered him out. She
Absolutely.
did everything right except stay put.
Yeah, she may have bought herself a civil lawsuit, which she's now potentially have to go through the cost to defend, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is, I don't know if in Baton Rouge, we're going to run into that as a problem there. We kind of, most of the more rural areas, we kind of like to see women as municipal. Just remember the old days, we used to just tell them to wear gingham and go, oh, I was so afraid, and we let them off.
Yeah.
Women, you have reached equality. You go to jail just as often. That defense doesn't work anymore. I got a note in from the Nevada Firearms Coalition. There's a bill, Assembly Bill 118, which is being pushed by most of the pro-gun groups, that says would make a small change to current Nevada CCW laws to extend to members of the military and veterans who are between 18 and 21 years of age the right to get a permit to carry concealed in Nevada at 18 to 21. The bill states that a person between 18 and 21 can receive a permit to carry concealed firearm if that person is eligible, has eligible proof that he or she is a member of the Armed Forces of the National Guard or has been discharged or released from service under honorable conditions. And it goes on to say, please join us in supporting this important bill for the brave men and women who are protecting our state and nation and to honorably serve the country. This is a great idea. The enforcement is going to be a nightmare, I think. Nobody at the hearing, they just had, no one spoke against the bill. Good. The problem is when what it creates, we now have some other states that are doing that. They are issuing permits to retired military, usually we're living in wounded warriors.
Sure.
That happens. Sure. And then they travel to a jury. Now, they all say you have to obey the laws in the state that you're in.
Correct.
The problem I foresee is the confusion when you enter a state that you have to be 21 years old to possess a handgun or any firearm.
Okay.
And there are several of those.
Mhm.
So there you are with your gun, and you're not old enough to have a gun.
Uh-huh.
It's an enforcement problem, and I think this is a good idea. I just think this is going to be a little difficult in the enforcement. I mean, we already have states that where you have a permit. We have 218 carry. You go to New York City and you 218 carry, they can arrest you because they don't honor 218 carries.
Yeah. The burden's on the carrier though to know the law, right?
That one would think they would keep up with that. Obviously, if they've been through this, and this is aimed at women warriors, and it's a good thing.
I agree.
We need to educate them when they get the permit.
Sure.
I mean, the classes here, they're not classes everywhere.
I don't see that much of a problem. I see what you mean. I know it gets confusing when you're like, I don't know any about this because I'm a retired law enforcement. I don't need to get a concealed weapons permit. So, but you see, apparently you can go like some state and you get a concealed weapons and through reciprocation, you get like 36 states you can carry in or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, and that's one of the things they're working on, that the NRA has been pushing, that now they're kind of related in the problems. They're asking the federal government to allow national reciprocity.
Okay.
And that's not going to happen. There are states that simply won't allow that.
Correct.
And we're going to have these situations where you think you can carry a gun everywhere. We don't have national reciprocity. What we want the federal government to do is get out of the way and have national constitutional carry.
Okay.
That's different. Asking the federal government to regulate concealed carry by having them make a national rule for reciprocity.
Yeah.
Maybe it's only because I've been in this mess 50 years or so, but Congress changes, and the bill that you push that says, please, federal government, regulate carry of concealed firearms, proves to be an error, because 10 years later, there's somebody else in charge. We're finding that now with several things going on in DC. And I think the NRA is wrong. I think they need to push for not national reciprocity, but national constitutional carry. Which is going to be an impossible fight. Anyway.
My only criticism would be generally health and safety laws, laws related to law enforcement are generally reserved to the states under the Bill of Rights. So I don't know if the federal government has the authority to do that.
Well, or to do either one.
Yeah. So I agree with you. It would simplify things, and I think it is a good idea. My impetus has always been training. I want to give concealed weapons permits to people that are trained, and these 18-year-olds are very well trained.
Yeah, police academies.
Yeah, so these 18-year-olds are very well trained, and why not give them guns and let them carry concealed?
Now I have to do. We got a few minutes. I have to do a Bill story that I was here the other day, and he was on, and he kind of skipped over when we were teaching. We were in a firearms school, a 2-week school, I believe, up in Carson City for firearms instructors and whatever. One of the drills we were doing was a very, very good drill. It's a drill where you have a suspect and you want to handcuff him, and you've got him standing still or with his hands in the air or turned around, wherever you got him. And one officer is going to approach him and handcuff him, and the other officer is the cover officer. Only the contact officer speaks. That's the first rule, and we've seen a lot of instances where that's been a mess. Because one guy is saying, don't move, the other guy is saying, put your hands up or I'll shoot you. And you go, okay, which one of those should I do? So only the contact officer is speaking, the guy who's walking up on the guy with his cuffs out. We're going through this drill. And we had a whole bunch of highway patrol guys that were on the other teams. And we're watching this, and it was just, they're creeping up very slowly. Then the instructor, the line instructor would yell gun or knife or whatever. And then the contact officer would back up so he's not in line of fire. And then the cover officer would fire his gun. And we're dealing with like this 2.5, 3 second delay. I mean, it looked like a slow dance in the middle of a gunfight.
Yeah.
So we're toward the end of the line, and we collude a little bit, and I said, obviously this needs to be fired a lot faster. So, yeah, because these guys are going to be dead before, so I said, I'm going to shoot low center mass on the target. Keep your hands high. And so he's walking up the target, and the guy yells gun or whatever. And what I didn't count on was Bill's training. He has his handcuffs in his hands, so he threw them at the bad guy, the target, which you commonly do for a distract. You want to throw something at the guy's face, so he'll hesitate for a second while you're backing away. Anyway, he throws the cuffs. I fire 4 rounds into the low center mass, and just blah, 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 blah. I mean, just really quick, back when I was fast. And what it looked like to the rest of the students was that I had hit the handcuffs, because they didn't expect Bill to throw the cuffs. So he's got his hand out there, and I'm shooting underneath his hands. And this is, we're pretty good at this at the time, so it was not really dangerous. But then, good drill. Super Special Agent Gamage turns around and goes, "Ha!" holding like a finger missing. Like, "Ah!" It was really hysterical. I mean, the whole place went, "Oh my God." I did not shoot Bill's finger off. No, that was very quick thinking.
I have I have all. Nothing on my sleeves.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah, I love the instructor courses. I especially like them when we get to do the drive-by training, where we drive down the range and we just fire out the window. We
practice on that, and you can actually hit targets from your moving vehicle, but it's a lot more difficult than it appears.
You got to lead them.
You got to lead them, because you're firing and you're moving and the target's moving, and the target's not moving, you're moving, and it's a lot of goofy stuff like that. That is very, very helpful. We did that class where we were using cars for cover, and we shot the.
I put that sort of training. I think you came up with that course on one of your courses. And I took that training and I incorporated it into my training. I ended up training several other state agencies because they got new police powers, and they did not have firearms instructors. They don't get
behind the tire of a car. Well, they would kneel behind the car and lean out. They're behind the trunk of the car. There's nothing to stop them.
Oh, the way I did it was we were doing it from the driver's seat. I'd actually have them drive up the range, put it into park. As they're doing it, they'd get some sort of stimuli for gun, shotgun, whatever. And they would draw and fire. The winner of a contest got to fire through the windshield, but the other ones, pretty much had to try and exit the vehicle.
Well, actually, I had a case recently where it's a live case where the individuals got into a gunfight, which looks more like a duel to me than anybody starting a fight. But one is in a pickup truck, and you can see him. He's carrying his gun in his pocket, like a lot of us do. And he's trying to get the gun out. And we discovered that in training, you have to undo the seatbelt first. You're never going to get the gun out.
It's a whole exercise.
You can see the guy on it. There's a video of it from a neighbor's house. And you can see the guy trying to get his gun out.
And it just ain't working.
And in the middle of this, and the other guy was pulling a shotgun. They were kind of having a duel. But I can see exactly what's going on with him, because we found out later he's carrying his gun in his pocket, and he had the seatbelt on.
And you're sitting.
You can't draw the gun.
And so you got to practice these things from vehicles with your rig that you're going to carry.
Belt.
You got to use your rig you're going to carry.
Lots of things. You want to try and practice with everything that you have. Just one other example, we're going to run out of time here, but years ago, when I was doing some bodyguard work for a celebrity, and I had gotten myself a new bulletproof vest that looks like a suit vest. It's a plaid vest, and it's really cool, and it was level. They were a lot heavier back then. There was level whatever,
The 8-track tape era?
And back then we had a phonograph.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm sitting in a restaurant and covering a celebrity who's in the restaurant, and I see somebody who is looking at the celebrity, and And I realized I'm carrying a shoulder holster because I'm going to be sitting in a restaurant. And with the vest, I couldn't get, as I went to reach across, as you practice to do, I couldn't reach it because the vest was
Bound up, wrong size.
There I am, and I have not practiced, even tried to draw this thing with this vest. I just got it. It was so cool.
I know.
And realized I could not reach my own gun.
Bob, how many draws should you draw out of a new holster before you use it in practice?
Depending on the holster, 500 at least.
Okay.
You always work from the draw. You're not going to start the gunfight with your gun in your hand. You work from the draw, wearing the clothes you're going to be wearing.
Absolutely.
I tell you this story, the air security, got the sky marshals.
Mm-hmm.
I used to come in here and practice all the time, and there was a friend of his with the FBI, I won't mention the name of the agency, who came in with him, and the FBI guy wanted to practice qual because he was having trouble qualifying. And I'm watching him, and he's moving his coat back, he's sliding his gun a little bit around toward the front, and then he's going.
Is that how people sit on airplanes?
No, they don't. When the bad guy's out there, it's a surprise. You can't be, okay, now I'm going to move my coat. Now I'm going to move my gun. Now I'm ready. 1, 2, 3, bang. It was kind of cute. But one of the things I learned from the guys, the Sky Marshal was taking a playing card. He's setting up 2 targets right in front of him, 3, 4, 5 feet. And he has a playing card, and he drops it, and whichever side it landed, if it landed face up, you had to shoot the right-hand target. Face down, you had to shoot left-hand target.
The randomness.
So he's got to look down, and then he doesn't know which target he's got to hit. He's looking at the ground before he has to draw his gun. It's pretty cute. Like you had one of these passes to the Crossroads of the West Gun Show. Got a few of these. If you want to get one of these, drop me a note at Fired Up with Bob on our website, and one of these things, and I will get you a pass. Thank you so much for listening to us. Any final words? I just want to do that. I had to do that war story.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. It's
it's just so much fun, and it is so important that you practice.
Training. Absolutely.
Practice will save your life.
Absolutely.
Mr. Whitland, thank you. Here we go. We'll be back next week. An hour earlier.